I am live. Hi, everybody. I know normally I do it on like Mondays in the morning / afternoon, noon. And today I decided to try and do it a little later at night. So we have Ionalith here. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Um, it might not be very many people at all, but I might actually get some progress done. Hi, Dan from Dan Does Junk. I hope you had fun on your stream. I just got the tail end of it, but making some progress, I see. So what are we working on today? We are working on Wednesday Addams inspired cuffs and collar sets. So I am not making her whole outfit. I'm just making her accessories because I was watching the new Netflix Wednesday series and I absolutely love it. And that collar that she wears at the very end, the crochet one, oh my gosh, is that phenomenal. I absolutely love it. I want to figure it out, but secretly I'm hoping that they knock it off and that I can buy it pre-made. But if not, I probably will figure out how to make one because it is too cute not to. But this is what I'm making today. This is terrible lighting, but Wednesday Addams collar. I have two different versions. That's my first prototype, and this is my second prototype. And with it blown out completely white, you guys cannot really see the biggest difference. But this one, it looks like a W or an M because there's a lot of shaping in it. And this one looks more like fangs, and there's a different type of shape. So I have been geeking out on collars. Welcome, Marble Guy. Good to see you again. So, collars are a little bit tricky and super simple at the same time. I actually feel like that's with most menswear. Menswear is one of my favorite things to design for and work with, but it is very, very simple and very complicated at the same time. And I love it, but it's usually there's a reason. So, this is my sample example shirt because it has a very clear definition of all the different parts of a collar. You have the under collar, you have the roll line, you have the part that folds over, you have all the bits and pieces, and you can clearly see that they are really simple but really complicated. And we get to talk about why. So the first thing that I like to do is kind of figure out what I'm really trying to accomplish. She has a nice high, tall collar, and it's really easy to put those collars on a stand. And when I mean the stand, it is this pattern part. It is the part that it is going to stand on before it folds over. But I didn't want to stand on the collar that I'm making. I kind of wanted it to feel more like a necklace and an individual piece that's separate, and I didn't want to have that stand piece. If you order a collar on Amazon, they have stands on them, which I really do like. And there is a place, and they are great. But when I was patterning this, I eliminated it. So I was trying to think if I should do a one piece where I did it as a roll, but I really didn't want the stand. I just wanted the collar. And so that changed my shapes. And I also wanted it to be a dramatic point in my Wednesday collars. I'm going to pull out this book. This is one of my favorite books. 9 Heads. Sounds so morbid, but it's an amazing fashion illustration book. And Is this the page? No, that's a really good one, and I do want to show you guys that. But first, here we go. So the long tip pointed collar, we have it right here. I wanted to do this shape, but I want, see that back here, this part, this is the stand. I don't want to do the stand. I just want to have the exaggerated points. It sounds really complicated. It's super simple, but it's complicatedly simple. But if you understand why it's complicated, you can make it really simple. That's okay. I think I'm just confusing you. But I hope this picture helps. So when you're looking at collars, it has to go around your neck. And this one's a really great one at explaining which way you want your collar to lie. This is the way I ended up drafting my collar. What are those lines? Those are those grain lines. You don't have to worry about them with leather, but you do have to worry about them with a woven fabric, and we're going to be working with a woven fabric today. So I have lots and lots of books and lots of notes because I was geeking out over the different patterns and how you go about making them happen. But first thing we need to do is start with the measurement. 13, how fitting. So here we go. This is the one I ended up using. I have a whiteboard. Whiteboards are great. So we only want to work with half a pattern. So we are going to work with half a circle. Now, if you think about your neck, you have a cone because you're a little narrower at the top of your neck than you are at the bottom of your neck, and you also want your collar to flare out. Now, we also have a point in our collar, so right where your shoulder seam would go if you have a sleeve, that is where you're going to change the direction of your collar to accommodate the forward bend versus the back bend of your collar. And so I'm trying to think, how much ease do I need? And when I say ease, that means breathing room. I think you only really need about 1 inch of ease because it gets spread out through the entire circumference. And then you also need to count in your seam allowance. And I'm doing a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I'm probably going to have 2 seams, so I have to add a 1/2 inch. So if I add 1.5 inches, it's okay. I'm live doing math. It's okay. Toby, people say hi. He's right here hanging out. This is Toby's. Okay. Okay. So 13 plus 1.5 inches divided in half. That gives me 7.5 inches. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5. There we go. Okay. So about 1.5 inches wide is wide enough for your normal collar, but we're kind of doing an exaggerated costume piece. This is 1 3/4 inches, so take that with what you may. But anyways, this is my center back. This is my center front. Right here, somewhere in the middle, should be my shoulder seam. Should be right here on my collar. Now, if we have a rectangle that is just straight up a rectangle, it is just going to sit around my neck as flat as can be. And we want it to be a little more comfortable than that. So we're going to take this and divide it in half, and then, don't worry, I'm just doing math live. 7.5 divided in half. Okay. So I made a little mark as to where this should be. Okay. So there are 2 bends that I'm going to add to my collar pattern. I'm going to add a bend here, and I'm going to add a bend here at this point. So I'm going to add a bend at my center back, and we're going to add a bend at my shoulder seam. Now, how are we going to figure out these bends? So you have a curve around the back of your neck, we have a curve around the front, and then we have a curve. It's a whole circle. It's a lot of circle math, and you don't want a straight line. You want it to curve. But as usual, when you're cutting, you don't want a straight point. So kind of go straight out for about 1/4 of an inch before you start curving your line. But here's my pattern piece. So it started out straight, and then I curved it up about actually I went a full 1/2 inch. And then at this point, I believe I curved down. I took this whole thing and I took it about 1/2 inch up, and I kept it the same, but I raised it from this point up 1/2 inch, and it created this gentle curve right here to my back. So that's how I got this kind of curve. And then I wanted these to come down at least about 4 inches so that it was kind of really dramatic. I added seam allowance, and I lost my collars. Here they are. So you can really see the difference. This one, I only turned up at the shoulder point. I left the back completely straight. So, but I added a 1/4 inch here, so it's not straight on the curve. It's a little bit tilted. But, so this is the half shape. This is the full shape. And it sits much higher on the neck because it is much taller, and it doesn't fit as curved around the neck, but it's thin enough that it's fine. And this one, it's a little bit narrower, and if you can see comparison of the two. This one dips in the middle, and it's a much more fitted, contoured shape, and it's a lot more comfortable in general. So this is the pattern that I went with that little bit of a bend in, and I hope I thoroughly confused you with all of the patterning. Please ask me any questions you want. But yes, let me make sure that this is the one I added seam allowance. So this is my pattern piece that I am going with. I have a place on fold here, and I've added all my seam allowance, and I need to cut 2 of them because I am not doing interfacing. I am only doing an outside fabric and a full lining, and they are going to be the same fabric, which is just a plain white cotton. Wow, people have been saying lots of stuff in the chat, and I haven't been paying attention. Let's see. Austin Lips. Hey, Felicia, we got 9 days till Christmas. How's your night going? It's going really great. I have most of my projects worked on. If any of you guys are on the Odin Makes private Discord server, I've been sharing one of the projects that I've been working on that I can't talk about until after Christmas. But until Christmas, I can show you guys. I just found this little teeny tiny knife. Okay, I tried to turn the handle back. It's for cutting up salad. It's like a lettuce knife. It's plastic, but it's a real knife, so it's actually like meant for kitchen use. Anyways, it's the cutest little thing, and it's I'm going to be using it for that. And I want to show you guys what it is, but I have to wait till after Christmas. So it's at least 9 days after Christmas. But yes, so that's like, I've gotten most of my projects done. I still have a few left that I'm working on. So I feel like I'm in good shape. We'll see. Yana says, we're all done with gifts, and hi, Austin. I'm glad you're all done. Ryan says, just finished Wednesday on Netflix. Really great show, honestly. No, I absolutely love it. It was phenomenal. It was a great show. So anyways, now I want all her collars. And I went through and I geeked out and I patterned a bunch. So this is the one that I'm going to go with. I am going to cut 2 out on the fold. And this is just really cheap scrap. No, it's not. It's actually really nice white cotton fabric. But it's scrap, so I don't feel too bad about using a lot of it. I'm going to cut it 2 layers out on the fold. And you guys liked my giant thing of scissors last time, so I have those. Yes, okay. So let me see. How can I show you guys? Okay. We are going to cut 2 out on the fold. And I'm not going to bother pre-tracing it. I'm just going to use my pattern and cut it out as nicely as I can. Show nice and flat. How are your guys' Christmas projects going? Are you guys all done? Yana, let this. I feel like I may add more projects because I have time. Okay. And you know what? I also have the cuff patterns figured out, so I'm just going to cut them out too. So for a 6-inch wrist, it's an 8-inch rectangle, and they are 2 inches wide, well, 4 inches wide plus seam allowance. So, and these are wingtip French cuff cuffs. My selvage edge is right here. My grain line is going straight up and down this way, and I am just going to cut out 4 of these so that I have 2 for each side. I know I'm being very wasteful with fabric, please forgive me, but the scraps do get used. Shoot, I lined up and flat. Okay, let's see. Let the light adjust. Yanela says, I should have probably said, please no spoilers, but I'm seeing that I'm not going to watch anything you can go ahead and spoil it. Don't worry, I won't spoil it. I absolutely love the show. Just see it. It's enjoyable, you know. Yeah, I don't think there's too many bad spoilers. Okay, what's the nice thing about this is now, if there's a definite right and wrong side, make sure that you have the right sides together. But there's really not an obvious what's right and what's wrong side on this. So I am going to pin it all together, and I am going to make sure that I'm lined up on the edges. I don't want to get off on one corner and then just have the whole thing off and curl. That picture where I showed you with the lines on the collars, that can affect it depending on if you have a print or a pattern to your fabric, but it can also affect the way the collar like lays around your neck. But the straight of grain, I think, is going to be, it's worked great on the collars that I made. Yes. Let me just make sure that my points are pinned together. Now I'm going to sew all the way around, but I need to be able to flip it inside out, and I want to find the least inconspicuous place that it's going to be able to happen. Right here is all center front, so we don't want to do it on these straight lines, and we don't want to do it in this curve on the center back, so I'm just going to do a little spot between here and here on the center back. I'll start here, go all the way around, and stop here, leaving at least about 2 inches or so. And then when I flip it over and press it, then it would it'll lay nicely and you won't even see. Okay, Elon says, we've been decking the halls in grand fashion, and we got a mini tree where it's going to open presents on Christmas Day because the couch in our living room is so funky. Shares popcorn with everyone. Butter, cheese, caramel popcorn if you want to know. Ooh, sounds delicious. Don't put it on the Christmas tree. That would be a little sticky. If you want ants, that's how you get ants. Okay. So, make sure this thing is on. The most complicated part is just getting the pattern. But once you have the pattern, it's really fast and easy from here. So, like I said, just sew all the way around. I am not changing the stitch length. My sewing machine, when I turn it on, it automatically goes to kind of the best stitch length for a basic cotton muslin, and this is a basic cotton muslin. So I am going to start with that. It looks like a spaceship on camera. Where is the foot? Please don't tell me. Oh my god, it's right here. Yes. Okay, let me see. I think I can raise. Now, you guys should be able to see kind of what I'm doing. Look how bright that is if I just block off. That's where we need to look. And we are sewing on white, so it's going to be white on white on white on bright. But, okay, center back, I am doing seam allowances. Okay. And let's go for it. When I go over the corners, I'm going to sew past the corners, cross my corners, and then pick the sewing machine up and go up. How do I say this, okay? I'm going to sew straight along. And when I get to the corner, instead of trying to take the corner, I am going to sew the straight line past that corner. Why is it being so weird? Lift it up, cut my threads, and now I'm going to sew nice and neatly down. I'm doing this so that I have 2 stitch lines of stitching and not just one little tiny kind of, hopefully it's on the point corner, and it'll give me a much sharper corner to work with, and it'll be less likely to pull out when I'm flipping it over, so that, because there's more stitches in there. Doing the same thing on this point too. And so just okay. So we don't want to just turn it inside out right now, because if we just turn it inside out, it's going to pull funny. It's going to not lay flat, and it's going to be a pain in the ass. The narrower your seam allowance is, the easier it is, but the more likely you are to bust out of your seam allowance, which we don't want. Sorry, I'm looking for scissors. So what we're going to do is, depending on if it's a concave curve or convex curve, whether you cut slices or wedges. But I feel like as long as you ease the tension with either slices or wedges, what do I mean, slices and wedges? So if I want this curve to turn, and the curve, when I turn it inside out, needs to spread, and the seam allowance is staying tight inside, if I slice it, it'll have the space to spread out. Now, on a concave curve, it wants to curve in, and if there's too much seam allowance, it gets too bulky and it starts to get too wavy. So what you want to do is you cut little pie shapes out so that the fabric, when it turns, it pushes together, sort of like a bridge. When you walk across the bridge, the top is going to be closer together where the bottom's going to be pushing apart. It's the same thing. So it's whether you do wedges or slices, but as long as you slice into the fabric up to the stitching line, but not through the stitching line, it helps a lot. So okay, I am going to take wedges out from underneath here and just sit there and take my time looking at the curve of my fabric, because the more curvy the piece is, the more slices I'll want to cut into it. Sometimes I get really lazy and I use my serger and I just serge the edges, and because it's a nice narrow seam allowance, I can usually get away with it if I just press it really nicely. But I did that on an apron for a present, and I can see it pulling. Like, I pressed it out, but like the perfectionist in me, I can see it and I know. So I'm like, geez, just take that extra time and trim your seams. Let's see. I went to a museum of history. Sorry, I'm bad at spelling, forget the name, but there was a sewing machine from the 1800s. It was cool. By hand, old technology. Oh, yeah. I like old sewing machines because the technology is basically the same. I am spoiled and I really, 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 really prefer to use a computerized sewing machine because I can just turn it and it goes back to this is the stitch length that you need for any basic cotton. And if I need to go up or down from there, I at least have a starting point each time. Where manual sewing machines, you kind of have to know your settings and what you really want, and it's doable. It's not my favorite. Okay, now this curve here, I'm going to protrude some of these out. Now, I cut a lot of this from the bottom, but this is also a curved surface. See this little smile to it? So that is going to also need to get clipped at the top. Okay. And now, last thing I'm going to clip are my corners. There's a hot debate. No, there's not a hot debate. There's your preference of which way you prefer to do it. Some people like to cut flat across their corners and then kind of trim the edges so that they have as little bulk in there as possible. Some people cut out their corners and then fold it over nicely so that the seam allowance lays nicely within the corner. Um, I'm kind of on team cut it flat across so I have as little bulky fabric in there as I possibly can. Um, but yeah, honestly, it's more about the pressing than it is about the the. You just have to remove the excess. So I'm just gonna cut corners. Just gonna cut my corners. Right. Let me put this down. I really don't like having this ironing board this tall. But here's the secret about sewing things nicely. If you press as you sew, things turn out nice. So it's inside out. I just clipped all my corners. I'm going to press it now. I'm going to iron it nice and flat. It is a collar, so I probably would starch it. I left the starch in the laundry room. I didn't even... I try to bring everything. I have to forget something. Now it's going to press a whole lot nicer. So before I flip it, I press it nice. And now I'm going to ruin all of that pressing by flipping it. I don't want to use a pencil. I'm looking over here going, I have a pencil, but I don't want to use that for flipping because that will leave a mark. I'm going to use this. What is this? This is a crochet hook. It's a little wooden one. I have a bone folder, but it's not over here. And bone folders are my favorite for turning corners because you can get really sharp in there. Yeah. So just flipping it inside out. So I went on and on about the collar, but then I just breezed by on the cuffs. The cuffs that I have, I wanted to do a French cuff. I didn't want to do with cufflinks, but I'm not doing real cufflinks. I wanted to do it with button cufflinks. But I wanted a removable collar and cuff set so I could do it with any dress that I wanted. And I kind of wanted to treat it more like it was jewelry than anything else. Of course, when I'm live, it's going to get really stuck. It's all wadded up as I'm trying to just flip it inside out. It's okay. Okay. Yana List, will there be an Odin live stream this Sunday? Yes. We are going to go live this Sunday. As far as I know, I talked to him a little while ago. So that is the plan. Oh, nice. You guys went to some museums. I definitely enjoy a museum, but I usually get so hungry and like I just want to sit and quiet and just think about everything that I just saw. Just process it all like afterwards. Decompression time after post museum decompression time is important. Okay. Almost. Look at it's all lumpy and bumpy. If you don't press it, this is what you're gonna get, and it's going to look unimpressive. Almost there. I want to get these points, but I don't have a bone folder. Sometimes I'm tempted to use the tips of scissors because they can get pretty pointy, but scissors are dangerous because they're sharp, and I don't like cutting through my fabric. That's why I like a good bone folder. But the bone folders I have are technically plastic, but whatever. Shh. Okay. So the bulk of the seam allowance is what that knot is right at the tip that we're kind of fighting. Now, when we're sewing, we're going to do some top stitching in over the seam allowance after we're done pressing. And when we get to this tip, when the needle goes into it, it is definitely going to, like, if you have an old sewing machine, it's got to get stuck or things. So you have to kind of take it slow, kind of roll it as you go. But this corner, let me clean it up. I really like to get the corners pushed out as much as I can before I press it because you don't want to press your corners short. Yes. Okay. So, let me. I just want to show you before and after. Before I press and after I press. So this is it before I press. It's not very impressive, is it? Okay. Now, when I'm pressing it, I say pressing as opposed to ironing because you don't want to just iron the collar. You want to press it so that your seam allowances are as far out as you can so that you can have clean, sharp, crisp lines. I'm not going to rush this part because if I do a good job on this part, the rest of it's easy. If I don't do a good job on this part, the rest of it's really hard. Oh, Toby's just out of frame. There's the Toby. Now, if it's like really fighting you on pressing it, it's probably you need to clip some more of those curves. But if it's just folding over nicely, you probably did a good job clipping your curves. So, look at that. That's already much better. I'm going to flip it over and press the other side now. Now, on my other two, I did top stitching with just a regular straight top stitch. Top stitch meaning these little stitch marks that are right here. I don't have them on this one yet. It kind of gives it more of a finished look. I was actually playing with my sewing machine stitches, and I'm going to turn it off for a second so it's not blinding y'all with the light. But if you look at stitch number, let me see, 13, I believe, right here. Stitch number 13. It's kind of a scalloped edge. It's a tight scalloped edge. I really liked it. I used it on a project just recently, so I wanted to try it on this collar. So I'm going to turn my sewing machine back on. I'm going to do stitch number 13. I love increasing my stitch length so it goes a whole lot faster, but because I'm doing a delicate little collar, I am going to just leave it on the normal length and not changing my tension or anything. And yeah. So Eonolith is asking, do the critters get clothes for Christmas? Yes, Toby and Bruno absolutely love Christmas. They do know how to open their own Christmas presents. Yes. Spooky, this will be his very first Christmas, so we'll find out how he enjoys it. I'm excited for that. Okay. Eonolith, can I see? I'll dress them up after Christmas. Yes. Okay, so now this is just going to take a while because it's doing a fancy stitch, so it's taking like 12 billion stitches. And I'm just going to take my time. They are going to be so precious. Okay. Let me see. I am at that nubby knot of a tip that I told you that you're going to get stuck on. Just take your time. Doing a straight stitch is a whole lot easier than doing a decorative stitch. But if you get a little stuck, there's nothing wrong with just moving your fabric on a little bit and getting over that nub. Yeah. Anima says it's been super cold down here in the 40s and 50s and the highs. It's been glorious. Do you love the cold weather? I'm not a huge fan of the cold weather, but I have absolutely loved being all curled up. Not going to lie. Toby does not likes being nice and toasty. Probably should pay attention to like the driving, but I am just. It goes so slow when you're doing a fancy stitch. But it is really cute, so I think it's worth it. But not necessary. I honestly like it with just the regular stitches. But I wanted to play. When you're doing decorative stitches, you don't want to push your fabric through. You have to let the feed dogs do their job. What are the feed dogs? The feed dogs are the little things underneath your sewing machine that pushes your fabric along. You just have to let them do it because they kind of are pulling you back and forth and changing your direction depending on what part of the decorative stitch you are on. I'm at the tip where it's all knotted. It's okay. I'm just going to take that one. Get over it. Yeah. This little scalloped edge that I'm adding to this collar really reminds me of a Peter Pan collar just because it's and I love it. Peter Pan collars are appropriate for Wednesday Addams, so it's a nice, she seems to be obsessed with like pilgrims. Pilgrim collars are fun. They are a completely different, you go about pattern drafting them completely differently. It's a lot of fun though, but yeah, I wanted a stand collar, stand. Okay, try saying that 10 times fast. I wanted a stand collar, stand. So, no stand, but I wanted it to be a stand collar. I think this looks pretty good for that. I should have not started on center front. Awesome. Okay. Let me trim my threads. Yeah, look at Toby being all cute. And now all I have to do is add a closure. So I am going to add a hook and eye closure. If I had an actual stand there, you can easily use a button for a closure, but I didn't want to do a button closure. I feel like the hook and eye is a really good nondescript, discreet closure that I could do easily. I had a needle, and I'm looking for a needle in a haystack. Give me 2 seconds. It's not in my fabric. These are my cuffs. So my finished cuffs. Awesome. I found my needle. So that's not going to be enough. I need to thread more thread on that. Yanalith actually found a needle in a haystack. Did you use a magnet? That's how I would. If I had to look for a needle in a haystack, I would look for a magnet because I feel like hay would just be as stabby as needles. I like to do 2 arms lengths. Actually, I'm going to do 4 because I'll do a double thread. Double thread, if you fold your thread in half and then thread that loop through your needle and fold it in half again, then you have 4 threads. So when you pull it through, instead of doing 2 threads thick, it's like doing 4 threads thick, and you don't have to stitch as many stitches. Okay, so that's threaded at 4, and now it has a 4 ply thread count. Shoot. Don't worry, I'm live, just fighting my threads. So, Alice says it was one of those needles with a big eye, and it was a thick quilting needle. Ha 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 ha. Oh, nice. So at least it was a little bit easier to see. That's good. But yeah, I like playing I Spy. My little eye. I used to make a joke at work all the time because working at a bridal production studio, everything is beautiful white lace. Everything is white and lacy. So when we're constantly, I need this fabric or I need this lace or this trim, and it's like I spy with my little eye something that's white and lacy. I need a thread. I need a needle. You put everything down. It's all beautiful white. So I felt like I was constantly playing I Spy there. It was fun though. Yanalith. I didn't have to deal with Bridezillas. So if Bridezilla wanted something different, they emailed us, and then we say yes or no, and then we took care of it. Yeah, I worked in the production studio, so I didn't actually have to deal with people one-on-one. Okay, let me make sure I have this on the outside. Okay, now that I have a needle and thread, and I have a hook and eye. So this is my hook. It's teeny tiny. The white's not going to help. Here, let me use this teeny tiny hook. See? Can you guys see it? It's tiny. No. Okay, well, this hook has 2 little holes and a hook that goes over. We are going to make it so that hook is sitting on top. So, and we don't want it sticking past the collar itself. We want it right in line with the collar on the very corner. And we're going to hand stitch that in place. needle. So I do a couple stitches in place. This is my secret. If your needle is a little, doesn't want to stab in nicely, nose grease or hair grease, it will make it easy. So I am just going to whip stitch this little hook in place. And instead of doing a metal eye, I'm going to show you guys how to do a thread eye. Sounds intense, but it's not crazy. Yana, that's awesome, but I love talking with people, but yeah, dealing with uppity people is meh. I didn't really have to deal with uppity people. It was nice. I definitely got to see a lot of the good in people. People appreciate. So I got the opportunity to take people's sizes and measurements. I would get a spec sheet with just numbers on it and a photo of the bride. And I would get the numbers and then also which dress they ordered. And then I would take those numbers and turn them into a pattern and take those patterns and then cut them out of the fabric and then sew those fabrics together. And these are all based off of their custom measurements. So this is probably the best fitting garment any of these brides have probably ever worn. I can't say that for sure, I guarantee, but a lot of the things, like sometimes I'll see numbers and I'll like, that's kind of funny, and then I'll look at the bride's picture and the dress is pulling funny, and I'm like, they deal with that problem a lot. It's because they have a very narrow shoulder to shoulder or a very wide one in comparison to, anyways. It's interesting how you can start to figure out you could to really start to eyeballing it, but people, when something fits you, you feel right in it, and especially your wedding dress, you want it to fit you and you want to feel right in it. And I feel like I got to experience people being happy and excited that things really fit them nicely and that they got to just relax and just be comfortable and dance around on their wedding day. So I really enjoyed that. Feel like I went all around, but we got to a point eventually. But yes. I feel like I'm scooting slower and slower back. I'm just going to stop now because I don't like where I ended up. Let me just stop and start over. Yes. Okay. Austin Lit says, "Hey Felicia, good work with I'm in a wheelchair. You're my favorite YouTube channel and Odin makes." Oh, thank you. I really do like doing this. It's a nice little fun hobby that I've been enjoying. So if you guys appreciate it, I definitely give it a like so I know, but have some company to craft along with. That's nice. But thank you. Good thing I don't have to deal with people, but yeah, a lot of time people are nice, yeah. I worked with a lot of people at the costume shop, and I dressed people up very one-on-one and close, and it is sometimes definitely a therapy session when you are dressing. Like you're at the most vulnerable when you're trying on new stuff, and does it fit? Do you feel comfortable? Does it represent who you want to represent and who you want to be? Clothes are very interesting, and I love them. Yanalith says, "One of the things I miss about working but dealing with my managers and stuff was just draining." Oh yeah, no, one thing I definitely learned that when you work in a healthy work environment, you recognize when you were in a toxic work environment. And it's like, oh, I put up with a lot of toxic behavior because I was just trying to do my very best But when you don't have to deal with toxic people, it makes the biggest difference in the world. But I honestly have lucked out. I've dealt with some crazy people, but nothing. Yeah, working at the costume shop, I've definitely met and dealt with some very interesting people, but nothing to really scare me off. Um, it says now my right shoulder is in a pretty steep downslope. Yeah, if you have an extreme slope in shoulders, you probably have some issues with certain um with fitting issues. It's just yeah. I understand. I understand the struggle, but I also know how to pattern for it. um, ooh, dislocated your shoulder twice. That's difficult. Yeah. You have a lot of power and movement in your shoulders. Um, when you're doing a round off, you think that you're getting all your power from your legs, but where you're really getting that pop is from your shoulder. And you get at least if you think about it, the difference between here and here is between 5 to 8 inches, and you can really get a really strong walking motion. It's like that 1 inch punch. It's from the shoulder. So, oh, I would not want to injure shoulders. That's for sure. I hope you feel better. Okay. This is taking me twice as long, but I had to rip it out because I had migrated lower and I didn't like the placement. And instead of just committing and doing it badly, I stopped and did it right, because a lot of sewing sometimes is just ripping it out and starting over, because you can, and it will turn out better if you do. Right, Toby? Yeah. Because if you don't want to rip it out now, you're not going to want to rip it out later. He's curled up even closer. My Tobies. Okay. Alright, let me tie off this end, and then I will show you guys how to do a thread eye. And this says, it hurts, but I know surgery will make it worse, and I don't have anywhere to have a muscle transplant because my right leg is swollen and it's just like to stop. Yes, Austin Lips, we use lots of muscles. The humans are crazy. Yes. Yes, that is for sure. Okay. Now, on the opposite side of this collar, we need something for this little hook that we just sewed on to hook to. Now, we don't want it on the outside. We want to put it on the inside, but we want to make sure that when it is finished, it is flush and closed. Hi, Toby. Yana says, I've been getting in a lot of walking and it's helping with the swelling. Yes, that would definitely help with swelling. The more you move, the more you can move. If you stop moving, then it's harder to get moving again. Is it just Toby? Actually, Spooky and Bruno are right directly in front of me, where you guys cannot see them, but they are in full their view of watching me, because they are always in the room that I'm in. Okay, so I have a 4-threaded needle here. I have a knot in the end. I am going to take a little stitch that's only a quarter of an inch bite, and I am going to make 3 loops. Make sure I'm on the correct side and the right spot. In the same spot. And I'm going to do it loosely because I am going to go over those loops. And those are what I'm going to hook onto. I don't want it to be super tight. Oh my gosh, I am all tangled. They stare. I know that, LOL. Yes. Bruno's actually passed out. It is past his bedtime. It is way past his bedtime. Trying to do this as neatly as I can because, you know, y'all are watching. Not that you can see this bright white on bright white. I really should get better lighting. Eventually. So 1, a 2, I want all those threads to be even and not all funky. I have a lot of threads to keep in my line. And a 3. Now we're going to do a I learned to do this on friendship bracelets, but it's how you tie a skirt together. Like if you have multiple layers of wedding dress skirts and you need to make like a thread bar to keep the skirts together, you would do it. If you do it around, I've used it to make friendship bracelets, like I mentioned. It's where you tie a bunch of little knots along your strings to create a finished little stronger thread bar, or like we're doing here, a little thread eye. So I get into a little groove going, and it's like, okay, let me just really try and explain this as best as I can. Right here, I have my little 3 stitches in place to make a little loop. See how I have my threads here? Now I'm doing this trying to follow the camera. Pull my threads through like I'm going to tie a knot. Sorry, I need 2 hands to do this. But instead of tying the... Don't worry, I'm just live. Let me... not get knotted up. Hold on. I'm gonna get knotted. Okay. I do this so often, it's muscle memory, but trying to explain it, what I'm doing, that is the hard part. So it's like you're pulling it through, but it's like a crochet stitch. So it's like your finger crocheting around the loop. I could just do a thread bar, couldn't I? Oh well, and then stitch the other end. There are 3 different ways to do this, and I'm thinking of all of the wrong ones, but that's okay. There's a million ways to do anything wrong. All right, so I am just taking a bunch of knots and lining them up all on that little rainbow loop that I just did. I'll show you. I know, it's so tiny and white, and it's so fascinating watching me hand stitch. 5 dog eyes at my house. You mean 10 dog eyes? LOL. That's funny. Yeah. Does one of the dogs only have one eye? 5. That's an odd number for amount of eyes to have. 5 pairs of eyes. That makes more sense. Let me think. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Just 4. 4 little eyeballs on me right now. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Just 4. 4 little eyeballs on me right now. And there's actually 6 people here. Well, welcome everybody that's here. Stitch this. I know it's late, but I figured I wanted to try and live stream today, even if it was late. The 45th clown. Oh, right. Let me late again. Pre 7 a.m. here. Caught up with the Louis hat and scissors holders. Oh, nice. Well, welcome. It's nice and early for you. It's really late for me. It is 10:57, almost 11 o'clock. Not quite midnight. I have an hour before it's midnight. It's still Wednesday. Ionolith, because we need sleep. Yes, you guys do need sleep, but you're here, so welcome. I could put you to sleep. Just watch me hand sew for a few more hours. I find hand sewing very therapeutic, especially when I'm paid per hour for doing it. Vzak says, hey Felicia, didn't expect to see you this late. I know I wasn't going to go live this late, but I decided to do it because I was up and I wanted to work on this project. I had some time. Is this late hour okay for all y'all? Obviously, there's some people here. Yana Liz says, it's a nice chill evening. It is a very nice chill evening. I'm kind of enjoying this. It's a little less, I don't know, it feels very chill at the moment. Okay, let me do about 2 more. Okay, 3 more, I think 3 more. Vzak says, unfortunately, I won't be getting a costume done in time for SAC anime again. Oh, that sucks. Are you working on one and you just are being realistic with yourself, or you just didn't get started yet? Because I understand both dilemmas. I actually was thinking of dressing up this year at SAC Anime. I haven't. Last year, I half-assed, or the last SAC Anime, I half-assed dressed up. I wore half my Wonder Woman costume. I wore the accessories with this really cute skirt, but it wasn't really a good dress-up cosplay. So, yeah. But I think I'm going to dress up this year. Zach says, it turns out sewing is hard. Yeah, no, and it's time-consuming. You have to get through the stitches. You have to wait for the sewing machine to get through. I like driving really fast on my sewing machine. That's why industrial machines are a thing. They go really fast through those stitches, but it takes time. "45th Clown work when inspiration hit. It's a nice surprise." No, I 100% get that, because sometimes I feel like a kid in a bathtub, like, I don't want to get in. I don't want to get started. I want to work on my project. But then once I get going, I don't want to get out. I don't want to stop working on it. You know? Yes. But when I get into the mood, I definitely appreciate it. All right. I said 3 more and I did like 12 more. Whatever. It's nice and sturdy. Let me cut this off now. Now I have a nice reinforced thread loop and a hook and an eye. And there we go. I don't like how much it sticks out. I think if I do a second hook, it'll hold it right here a little bit more this way, as opposed to just only having one. But not bad. I left off the collar stand. I only have the collar itself. I think it turned out really nice and lovely. And so you guys can see, I did the scalloped edges on it. I really like how clean, though, that these edges turned out, so I probably won't do the scallop edges again. I like the straight stitch. I need to add a hook and eye onto this one. But I think this one's a fun, pretty one. I don't hate it. But I do want to press it again now that I've stitched all of the edges down. Oh, good. It's like, oh, there's a string I forgot to clip. Let's see, what does the thing say? Zach says, I bought a pattern and cut out the pieces, but the pattern assumes more sewing skills than I have. Simplicity was misleading. Okay, so it's not your fault. Simplicity, Butterick, all those patterns were written by people who have English degrees, not people who are necessarily sewing. And trying to explain people step-by-step instructions on sewing is not necessarily the most intuitive, especially when it's written by a writer, not necessarily a sewer, if that makes sense. Patterns are very, 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 very confusing. It's been 8 years since I've used pattern. I've gotten rid of all my patterns. I used them for a photo shoot once for the background, but yeah, I draft my own patterns now because I have the ability to. But following simplicity patterns can be really, really confusing when you don't know what you're necessarily doing. And I don't like the 5/8 seam allowances. I hate working with 5/8 seam allowances. I used to just trim my patterns down. So when my mom would sew, she would cut out, she would do multiple things in different sizes. So she didn't like cutting the patterns out for that one size. She would use that pattern over and over again. So she'd cut out underneath the lines. And then she could use that pattern over and over again. I didn't like that. It's so many more room for error on my part, and then I also didn't like the seam allowance, so I would just like go in and draw and cut off all the extra seam allowance and have that pattern only for my size with all my adjustments made to it, and then kind of go from there. But using package patterns are great when you understand the general rules, but they can be extremely confusing if you don't really know what you're doing. Um, but I do like sometimes when I get stuck, I go back, read the patterns, and I go, that's how you guys went about that problem? Okay, that makes sense. And order of operations really does matter sometimes. So paying attention to that. But yes, simplicity is a little misleading. Simply complicated. It's really simple, but it's complicated because joints and things. Yeah. Um, it's from 1953. Ooh, 1950s patterns. So I really like the darting that goes on in 50s patterns. Like I feel like they're really like taking advantage of all of the dart manipulations that they can from the 50s into the 60s, but mostly in the 1950s. I feel like there's a lot of good sharp dart work going on. Um, yeah, and that's a little bit of a confusing time. I can see. And if you're not really comfortable with darts, that could be really difficult. But yes, sounds fun though. To do that old door. Don't use doors like they used to. Okay. Yana, let's just watch Felicia and it should make it easier for you to sew. I think I would like to do like a step by step. Just let me get you through a dress or through a t-shirt or well, I did take you guys through a Renaissance shirt. That was a let me throw it together historically. Like, what would people do if we don't all have the collective knowledge of how to pattern, how to follow a pattern, but we all wear clothes and we all had t-shirts? How do you think they did that? But yes. Oh, Austin was talking about his mid-century home. Oh, awesome. I love mid-century. Mid-century modern. Isn't everybody into that? Always have been. It's really fascinating. Okay, so now we have our collar. I think we have enough time for our cuffs. Now I have these cuffs. These cuffs are the ones I've already sewn. They're symmetrical and they have this wingtip. So if you see that this has the rollover and it also extends at the tips so that when you wear it on your wrist, you would put a cuff link in right here. And cuffs and collars were originally meant to be removable because they're like the easier part to like starch, keep white and clean, and they're the smaller pieces, so you can get. It's more economical to wash your cuffs and collars than to wash the whole entire shirt. But so it's a really simple pattern. Like I said, I have a 6-inch wrist plus 2 inches of ease. So even if you have an 8-inch wrist, I would still only add about 2 inches of ease. And when I say ease, that means bending, breathing, wiggle room. Because if you do it exactly at your wrist measurement, you're not going to have a place to button. You're not going to be able to wiggle, and it's going to be too tight. So 6-inch wrist plus 2 inches of ease. And then I did it at 1, 2, 3, 4. So I cut it out at 5 inches wide, but when it's all sewn together, it's 4.5 because I did 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around. So, and then I extended these little wingtips out a 1/2 inch past my 8-inch. So I hope that makes sense of how I got this shape figured out. And I cut out 4 of them when I cut out the collar. So I'm just going to quickly, I'm just going to stitch this way in front of you guys because trying to do it backwards was just too hard. That's hard. So. Okay. So, Analyst wants to see Austin Lift's amazing door. That's mid-century modern. Apparently, it's a metal door and it's heavy metal door. Love it. So, like I did when I did the collar, I am just going to cross each of my corners. So I'm going to draw. I'm going to sew straight and then I'm going to cross it, start again, and do a straight line. I am going to hide my little hole for flipping in the under piece at the bottom on the straightest edge, kind of towards the middle, but I want to make it look as invisible as possible. Okay. 45th Clown says, in UK, most of our doors have letter boxes. The slot in the door for post, not an actual box. Oh, nice. My letterbox is next to my door. I did not pin this. That is because I have bad habits. But I also, there's the edges line straight up. They're the same shape rectangles. It's not like it's a funny curve. They're straight lines. So, yeah. Oh, nice. Austin List says the mail comes in the house. There's not outside mailboxes. Interesting. Yeah, ours is just right outside the door. Toby and Bruno didn't bark at the mailman today. I was very proud of them. My favorite thing is when Toby and Bruno are watching Spooky out front, because Spooky is an indoor-outdoor cat. He can get out the dog door. So he can go out front, and he also can go out back. And the dogs aren't allowed out front, but they're allowed out back. And so they always are watching Spooky out front like he's TV. And they'll, like, be watching him, and then, like, they'll be, like, staring. And then Spooky will go all the way around and come sit right next to him, going, like, what are we staring at? And they were just staring at him, like, a second ago. And they're like, he's right there. Spooky's like, oh, really? It's hilarious. I know. My animals people watching makes me laugh. Okay. Let me stitch this one too. Okay. Oh, Yanela says we have a central mailbox that's down the street in a bit, and it's metal in the box. Oh, I always hated those ones. I never had to deal with that. But yeah, I really like having it right next to the door. What? The 45th Clown says I have milk delivered, but we don't drink enough to make it needed? Plus London, so 2-minute walk to the shops. Lucky, I absolutely love it when I get the glass bottle milk from here. I don't know if you guys know, but my last name is Cowley, and I like drinking milk. And I laugh because a lot of my friends are lactose intolerant, and I'm like, no, I need to have my cereal and milk. Yeah. Almost there. think I'm done with that for the moment. I think we'll see. Okay. So before I turn everything inside out, I'm just going to press it flat. It makes a world of difference. You want things to look professional and nice, you press. RS does constantly look out the window. Is RS your dog or cat? There's no really crazy curves. I know there's a difference between here and here, but it doesn't need to get clipped, so I'm just going to clip my corners. And that's it. Don't cut through your stitching. Two, not through. Now, these don't have such sharp points as the collar did, so these corners should be easier. I say should, but again, I'm doing this live, flipping them in front of you guys. So we'll see if it actually is or not. Okay. So one thing I find interesting, just thinking about the patterns and 1950s patterns in general, is kind of thinking about just home sewing in general. I have this really old sewing book right here. I get marks in it. These are parts that go into detail about collars, because collars are simple, but they're complicated. So the way this book goes about talking about sewing is that it's called the Tailored Garments Women's Institute of Domestic Arts and Sciences, Scranton, Pennsylvania. But it takes you through how to make a tailored suit for a lady. And it takes you through every painstaking detail. Like when we're looking at this collar right here, there's a specific way you press the collar as you're sewing it. See these stitch lines? This is the roll line. This is where it's going to bend around the neck. So this is our halfway point right here where the shoulder bends. This is our center back. This is our center front. This is where it's going to bend on the fabric, and you're going to want to pre-stitch that so that it bends over there. See these stitch lines of how they're reinforced, and see how they say to stitch this way and stitch out. There's definitely a direction on which way you stitch. So it goes into painstaking details about how to get a perfectly sewn, tailored suit. This is how you have to do all the tailor tack, so it's all held together while you get all the layers to fold over and nice. But what's funny is after the suit, hold on, this is all okay. Hold on, right here. This half of the book is all that one suit. This half of the book is, well, now you can do a coat, you can do men's shirts, you can do all these children's clothing, you can do this dress, and it's all easy from there. And you get one page for shirts. I just think it's really interesting. Like it gets really complicated, but then after you figure out the complicated, it gets super simple. But it's simply complicated. I've been saying that a lot today. You want a lifted Toby move? Yeah, he's right here. He is actually eye level with me at the moment. I love your sticky notes. Yeah, I have lots and lots and lots of them. This one, couture sewing techniques. This one showed a really, really good. Is it this one? Yeah. This one showed a really good example of the roll line for the collar that I was just talking about. In this book, it was kind of showing you how you stitched it. This is also the same kind of example. I like the charts and stuff. Honestly, if you want a sewing book, Vogue sewing books are my favorite. It doesn't matter from what year, it's just whichever fashions they're featuring. I like the more vintage fashions because they're fascinating and interesting. I think 1950s, 40s is when like the peak of dart manipulation is at its finest. I really enjoy that. 1960s, they're going around for more shifty shapes. They still really implement the dart, but it's not quite as contoured in my opinion. 70s, definitely still a lot of dart manipulation. 80s, we're getting into Victorian fluff, and so we're not doing darts as much as we're doing all the tucks and the gathers and the fullness. So, but all of those techniques are outlined in any sewing book. I like Vogue brand specifically because I think they do a really good job in showing you how to do it well, step by step. And I've had a lot of their books throughout the years, and it's all the same information. It's just kind of updated for the fashions and tastes of the time. So, yeah. We originally had one. Oh, nice. We originally had Roxy the mini pin Doberman, and we just got the rest from Family Crazy. You know, oh, you have a dog? You take this dog. More to love. Okay, so one of those is turned inside out. Let me turn the other one inside out now. Hi, Spooky. Did you bring me a present? Oh, brought me a dead spider ornament. Is that cool? Look, it has sunglasses. Spooky's so thoughtful. Here you go. I'm going to say hi. I know he doesn't want to say hi. Got a Spooky here. Say hi, Spooky. No, he just wants to be down at my feet where he was. This is hot. Watch out, Spooky. No, 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 no. Yeah, see, that's hot. Okay. He started to rub up against the iron, but I wanted him to understand. Hot, and he gets it. Okay, where was I? Leonela says, hi, Spooky. Spooky doesn't care. He's over there. So he has his food like in his plate, and he insists on attacking the bag of food because that is the fresher source of food, apparently, if you get it from the bag as opposed to having a little bit poured for you. He always looks at me too. He's like, look what you're making me do. Eat out of the bag. I'm like, no, stop eating. Anyways, I love my kitty cat. All right. Let me press these cuffs. Now, I don't want to do a decorative stitch around these cuffs because I liked the scalloped edge for around the neckline because it reminded me of a little bit of a Peter pattern scalloped edge. It just seemed like a nice finishing detail. But for the cuffs, I'm just going to go with this clean straight stitch because it'll make my life easier and it'll look really nice. I'm going to go in with a pair of scissors and sharpen these corners because these short corners are not sharp at all. That's bothering me. Well, it's getting late, but I don't have anywhere I have to be, so I can just finish up this project. And then it'll be done. Good question. The 45th Clown is asking, do you sew in collar stiffener? Pockets, not sure if that's a correct term for projects. Do you sew in the collar stiffener pockets? Okay, so I have left off a lot of technical things that you do with the collar because I wanted this to be a cuff and collar set that you can wear more like a necklace and bracelet set. So it's more of accessory pieces. So it's not like a part of a garment. I did not do any interfacing lining. I lined them completely. I did not do any interlinings or interfacings or any interior structural support to these. Using a sizing agent such as starching it makes it nice and crisp. I do not like ironing aid, which is sometimes when you think you're buying starch, you are just getting ironing aid, and it's supposed to be nicer than starch, but it doesn't get crunchy. And I like that starch gets crunchy. Some people don't like the crunch of starch. I enjoy it. I like how you can get a really sharp, crunchy fabric. Really press it. Like you're going to get the extreme out of starch. Ironing aid is going to soften your fabric. It's going to get the wrinkles out easily. It's going to make it iron fast, but it's not going to make it crunchy. And that's why I don't really like the ironing aids. I prefer starch because I'm trying to change the properties of the fabric to be crunchier, not just get the wrinkles out. But I did not add any sizing or starching to this currently just because I am filming and I'm not going to spray while I'm filming because I don't want that stuff everywhere. But yeah. So always looks so nice once it's pressed. Here, not pressed, pressed, pressed and stitched. That makes sense. Thank you. Yes. I got really, really complicated and then simplified it. I wanted a stand collar without the stands. A stand collar stand. I wanted it to be fully lined. I didn't need an interfacing because I kind of wanted to keep it lightweight. And ultimately, I thought it would be fun. Like, I want to do it out of like a lighter weight fabric, like an organza or a tulle. And I didn't want, I wanted it to work with a lightweight fabric or a heavier weight fabric. And I wanted it to just be a simple shape with just 2 pattern pieces versus 4 or 5. Even on a complicated pattern collar piece, that'd be 1, 2. I don't think there'd be more than 3 pattern pieces necessarily. So, okay. Let me press this one and then I can stitch it. But yes. Before I go, look at that corner. I need to push it out. See, it's a little cut, that corner. They're not super sharp. I'm using my scissors. I don't usually like using my scissors because scissors kind of are sharp, and sharp things that are sharp do cutty things, and so sometimes you can stab through that seam. But I just won't push too hard. I don't know if you guys noticed, but on the collar, I didn't hand stitch that the hole I left open for turning it inside out. I just did a top stitch and it held everything together. I'm going to do the same thing for this cuff. Audiston Lip says, "Hey Felicia, this the first time I talked on a chat. I was nervous before commenting with you and Odin." I get that. I actually never participated in a live chat. Like, I watched them a lot, but I never actually participated in the live chat until I was actually watching Odin live stream without me. It was like I was on vacation or out and about and I was watching it, and I was doing the live chat and I was like feeling all nervous, like, oh no, hi. Did he see my comment? Yeah. But I feel like I've gotten some practice in now. It's not so intimidating anymore. Yeah. And there's only a few people here. It's just 5 people. It's a chill Wednesday evening, almost midnight. We're making some nice little craft projects. I am going to press these folded just because I am ironing them now and I want it to be really crunchy. I'm also going to press my finished collar now that it's top stitched just to really clean it up. Oh my goodness, Bernie Davis. Welcome, first of all. I'm glad you're here. It is 2:33 in the morning. That's why I slightly feel guilty going like late at night here in California, because if you're on the other side of the world, which most people are, you have to be earlier as opposed to being later. But welcome. I hope you're having a lovely early morning, late night. Oh, nice. Austin Liv says, because I didn't know you, so now it's easy now. Yeah. I am definitely getting more used to talking to the chat and more familiar faces and names and usernames and getting to know the community of people. It's been great. Yana says, I cannot speak for anybody else, but you can talk to me whenever. I love chatting with people, and I'm about to pass out. Yes, you were on Dan Does Junks live stream, and while he was going, and now you're here at mine, and it's almost midnight. We have 30 minutes. It's not that. I'm almost done actually, but you're still good. I'm not going to do any decorative stitches. I'm just going to do a straight stitch. Turn it off and on again. Make sure it's just a normal length. And now I am going to go all the way around. Bernie Davis says, I am the knight. I'm glad that at least you're a night out. Okay. Austin List says, that's me. Ohio, it's 2:35 p.m. The afternoon? Wait, 3 hours earlier. Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I genuinely do. Because otherwise I'd be talking to myself for a couple hours. I think this is the longest live stream I've done so far. So the corners is where you have the most bulk of fabric. It's not just the double layers or the 4 layers. You're like getting all of the layers up in like a knot. So if your sewing machine gets stuck, don't just keep sewing in that same spot. It's kind of tempting to because you just go faster and you try and push through it. Lift up your sewing machine, lift up your foot, take a teeny tiny step, and then it'll go a lot easier. I say this out loud because I tell myself it in the head because it's not worth it. Those corners are tough. Just lift it up, take that step. You're drawing the line with your sewing machine foot. You know your foot's going to take that next thing. You can just lift up the foot, put it where you need to be, and put the needle right back down where you want it to be. So it's not, you don't have to fight with your sewing machine if you know that that problem is going to come up. Yeah. So. And yeah. You're not 100% going to get stuck, but so I made a mistake. I didn't make a mistake. It's nothing wrong with what I did. But what did I do? I started in the corner and I finished in a corner. I don't like starting and ending in a corner because you're trying to take this line and then meet up with this line right at a weird point. It's not an easy thing to do. Don't just start here and then go around. Start here, or start here, or here, or here on a straight line so that when you go all the way around, you're meeting up on a straight line. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. As opposed to, I did a corner. Because corners are hard when you're doing top stitching. There's a lot of fabric in there and then trying to meet everything up. I did, and it looks pretty, but you can do it and not have to make it struggle. You don't have to struggle. But sometimes I'm my own worst enemy. But now we have a cuff. Not bad. And here's my other one. Let me do the top stitching. Austin says it's 54 outside and raining. It is chilly. It is so cold. It's frosty outside. But like I got a lovely fire going. It's nice and toasty in here. I'm not complaining. It's late at night. It's almost midnight. But all right, I'm not starting on a corner this time. Saying it out loud. But yeah, just work on my project. Not top. Are you making this costume for a party? Kind of. I was thinking of wearing it one day to SAC anime because I could sit there and just like glower at people, and it's hilarious because it'll be completely within character. So I was thinking of wearing Wednesday Addams one of the days to SAC Anime, and I haven't fully committed to going more than one day yet, but I may because I actually might have the time to. According to my phone, it's 36 degrees in SAC. It is freezing out there. It is not warm. It is cold, but I am toasty in here. Yeah. We got the heat on 71. Alright, that is right. Vizak says, I'm excited about this next SAC anime. A bunch of Avatar The Last Airbender actors are coming. Also, Irene Bedard, voice of Pocahontas. That's awesome. I have been wanting to make my little sister wants to be Toph from Avatar Last Airbender. And I wanted to do Tylee. Yeah, I wanted to do Tylee because she's the little gymnast and is always wearing pink. And I wanted to run around in her outfit. So I was thinking about making that one. No spoilers! Tylee, is she talking about her? A spoiler? She's the little circus one. I like her. She's my favorite. So if they're gonna be there, that might be a good excuse to do that costume. Oh my gosh, so much better not meeting up on a corner. Now, when I start to get close, I've been following the edge the same way. I can. Yep. Line straight up. Okay. I think she's coming. Let me double check. That'd be freaking awesome. All right. Maybe I might actually have to go like con crunch and throw together a costume. It takes me anywhere between 8 and 16 hours to make a dress from numbers to finished dress. So I feel like that's pants and a shirt that she's doing. That should be doable. I'm not getting it over my head. Haha. We say this now. Okay. Isaac says confirmed. Sweet. Okay, well now I have to. I will have to go find some pink. I want to do it out of a knit. I don't want to use a woven. I know woven will make it crisper and crunchier, but I like the way that knits flow. Yeah, I'm going to have to find some pink knit. I can get very picky about my coloring too. Her name is Olivia Hack. Y'alls are lucky. Hack. Hack. That's awesome. Thank you. Like, oh my gosh, Bernie Davis says this past Baltimore Comic Con we had both Ariel and Belle at the con. I once spent almost an entire day at Disneyland waiting in line just to get their autographs, and I knew that they weren't really the real ones. That sounds awesome. You could also try do Tylee as a Kyoshi warrior. I know, but their armor is encumbersome and it does not look comfortable. Where her other outfit, I could just jump around in. I know, there's more skill in her Kyoshi outfit, but then I would be saying that I'm not Suki the entire time. You guys want to see me try something that might not work? It's been forever since I put in a buttonhole. I avoid buttonholes and zipper closures if I can. I like stretch knits and things, but I have this little buttonhole foot, and I used to use it all the time, and I loved it because I could just put my button in there and it automatically did it to the right size. But it's been years since I've done it on this machine, so I don't know. Let's see. Austin Lip says, winter sucks. My birthday's July 17th, and you and Odin said that the day Sunday. Said that day, Sunday's that day, my summer birthday. Wait, I'm a little confused. I misread your thing. So, but yes. Okay. So, this has been forever. What you're supposed to be able to do, you guys can't see what's going on. The sewing machine hooks here. This is where you click in the presser foot. This is where it clicks in. Right here is where you put your button. And depending, where's my button? This is my alpaca button. So I'm gonna grab my button. Put your button right. Oh, not there. Sorry, those are what hit the thing. You put your button here. I told you it's been forever since I did it. But see, you put your button in the end of the foot. Right here, you put, this is where it connects to the sewing machine. This is where you put the button. And then when it's on it, when it hits between these two pieces, it'll know how big to make your buttonhole without you having to math. And the less you have to math while you sew, the better. Because I remember explaining to my niece that I did math every day. And she's like, but you make wedding dresses. I'm like, yes. So I have to math every day. So the less I have to math, the better. Okay. So let me click this in. Am I doing it backwards? Nope, that's the way it goes. And then, okay. Look at my sewing machine. Can you guys see it? This horribly bright light. I'm just going to turn it off so you guys can see for a second. But I clicked it. Right here is my presser foot that normally goes right here. Normally clicks on here. I take that off. That's the wrong way. That's the correct way. Click it into place. And then there's this piece that right here that you pull straight down. And now, if I turn on the light, you guys may not be able to see it any better. No, that doesn't help. Now, this is going to go between these two pieces to determine the right size of the buttonhole. Let me see what people are saying. Okay. DJ Strathoff, welcome. Does that come with the machine? Yes. Yes, it does. So in the little things that came in with the sewing machine, I got that foot. I have this thing that I've never used once for alls. And a zipper foot. Yeah. It comes with some feet, some different feet, and one of the feet is the buttonhole foot. And it's made for this sewing machine. Your sewing machine, if it has a buttonhole foot, would have one that's made for it. And I haven't done this one before, so I'm just going to do it on a scrap of fabric to figure it out. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Ionalith, sweet dreams. Go to bed. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you showing up to my streams. Yes, go to sleep. Let me do this. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different types of buttonholes to choose from. I am going to go with the simplest. What's the difference? What's the 8 different types of buttonholes to choose from? It is whether they're keyholes or straight, and I am just going to do the straight, so I'm going to do number 30. Hopefully, let's give that a try. Okay. Austin Lip says, I meant on a live stream with Odin, and I said my birthday was Sunday the 17th. Sorry about that. Okay, I was getting a little confused. Yeah. Okay, yes. Let me give this a shot. Let me see. I am going to draw a guideline to see if I'm going to go vertical or straight or what I'm doing. There's this whole little target lining up system, so I want to see what I'm trying to line up so that I know where to, how to position my cuffs when I get to there. Okay, so, yes. I'm really glad that I did a sample one. I was thinking, if you look here, I drew a line, and I thought I was going to travel this direction, and it traveled this direction. So now, I know that it goes back first. It goes in that direction, so I know to do that. Let me do one more, just to make sure that I know where I'm lining everything up on. End of the line. There's a little target system. Okay, that looks pretty darn good. And all I had to do was set it up, and I know that it goes back now. Okay. Bernie Davis says, simple is most times the best option. Yeah. I know why I would go for a keyhole or these other ones, but there's really no point in being fancy on such. You're not going to see this. Let me. Love this book. Yes, lots of notes in here. So this is what I'm looking at. These are my buttonholes. Where do I want to line them up at? And I have 4 of them. Well, technically 8. 1, 2. I have 8 buttonholes that I have to sew on these cuffs, and they all have to line up. They're all symmetrical. So I'm going to show you my little trick. So we're going to fold them in half and into quarters, lining everything up. 2. So they're both cuffs lined up, stacked on top of each other, folded in half. And then I am going to mark my buttonholes with a pin. Because it goes backwards, so I'd be going this direction. Okay. So I'm marking it with a pin where I want my buttonholes. And I stabbed it all the way through. And now I'm going to stab this one back through. So I have the exact spot marked on both cuffs now. I have terrible lighting. I am so sorry. And now, same pin, going to stab it right through the same hole and open it up, and I have that mark transferred. And then again, right through that exact same hole, same pin. Okay. Wolverine scratch. Felicia, looking pretty. Are you going to a party? No, I'm not. I just have red lipstick on. My friend Jody told me about this great lipstick, and it doesn't go anywhere. I love it. So I feel like I can do fancy makeup, and it's really not hard or crazy. And so I was playing with it, and it's the end of the day, and I just haven't washed my face. But thank you. So now I have my buttonholes marked, and they're all the same place. Bernie Davis, is the vintage book or reprint? Okay, so the pattern drafting, the couture, and the 9 heads are all just out of date books that you can get more modern versions of. This book, The Women's Institute, the tailored garments for the Women's Institute. This one is from 1941. It's an old book. It's not a reprint. I collect old sewing books, but I got rid of most of my collection when I moved, but I wasn't going to give up this book. It's all the right information. All right. DJ Straganoff says, I came in late. Are these gifts as well? Yes, these were a gift set. One's for me for I'm going to be wearing to SAC Anime Wednesday Addams, one of the days at SAC Anime. The other set's going to be a present. Austin says, hard typing on a PlayStation 4. Yes, I don't often participate if I'm watching on my Xbox or PlayStation. Zach, good night, everyone. Good night. Well, thank you for being up late with me. I have been going for like 2 hours now, and it is like 1 minute off from midnight. I'm going to try putting in these buttons before I go, though, so. Yes. Let me put in the first stitch. The problem with the pins and this giant foot is like you get the needle in, but now I can't get that pin out without trying to like maneuver it in some crazy way. Okay, be good. Everything's straight and lined up. Because I hate ripping out buttonholes if they're not. I was like, it's gonna go in this direction. I picked the wrong direction. Let me try again. Turn it off and on again because I don't want to start in the middle of a stitch. Go to 30. It's all set up. Let me try this again. There we go. It's midnight. I have been streaming. It is now no longer Wednesday. Oh my gosh, Bernie Davis time update. It is now 3 a.m. here in MD. It's midnight. I'm not thinking, not Massachusetts, Minnesota. Minnesota. That's where I'm going to guess. Janice Ulcer, welcome. Whenever I make buttonholes, I have to use stitch and tear or my material gets mangled. Yes, you have to stitch it first. That's for sure. And MD Maryland. Thank you. Thank you. I know my geography. Anyways. Okay. You know, it's actually easier doing it this way, trying to get that lined up. I say this now. Don't ever say something's easier until it's done. Getting the pin out when I have it lined up the correct way. Just gonna go that direction. Okay. Well, last time I didn't second guess myself and I went the wrong way. There we go. Went the right way. Hands up. When your sewing machine's doing an automatic stitch and you use your hands, you're going to mess it up. You just got to let the feed dogs do their job and don't mess it up. Set it and forget it. No, you have to watch, but still. Easy peasy buttonholes when you have the right foot that does all the work for you. You guys can't really see it, but now all of those buttonholes line up, those line up, and those line up. They all line up, so now I have to do it to the other cuff after I trim these threads because these threads are bothering me. Janice Oser says, if you are doing the cuffs and collars, does that mean you already made a matching Wednesday dress? Yes. I already have a dress. Wednesday has lots of black dresses that work, the collars and cuffs being interchangeable. I have like 2 dresses that would, one has the print like that she has on hers, but it has like a color to it, so it's not just straight black and white. The other one I have is just a straight black dress, and it has the it has a stand collar but no collar, and it's all black, so it works. But yes, I already have the dress. I just needed the cuffs and the collar, and I wanted to have them be like jewelry or an accessory, like a bracelet and a necklace. So I went for a French cuff that was a separate cuff and a collar without a stand style collar without the stand. It is 300. I might go to bed. I will get tired tomorrow. Good night, everybody. Have a good night. And good night, Felicia. Good work on sewing today, and see you again soon. Sweet dreams. What are you going to use for French cufflinks? Actually, buttons. I'll show you that in just a second after. You know what? I won't show you guys watching me do 4 more boring buttonholes. I actually will just show you the cufflinks since it's already midnight. And I have to do those. I have to do the buttonholes on both cuffs. And what I'm going to use for cufflinks is 2 buttons on each cuff. So I'm going to take 2 of these buttons and I'm going to create a shank between them. And I'm going to use that for my cufflink. Okay? DJ Strathoff, sorry about butchering your name, I really apologize, says, have you finished the season? Also, will you do the dance at some point? I have finished the season, maybe, and I might do the dance. It's fun. I do like her dance. It's fun. Bernie Davis says, I kind of like the lacy dress she had at the Ravens dance on Netflix show. Yeah, definitely did. I did enjoy that dress. Needle in a haystack at the moment. I had it when I sewed the cuff. I spy with my little eye, needle and thread. Don't worry, we're just live. Nope, that's my pen. I wanted to show you guys my cufflinks. How to make them out of buttons. I was sitting here and I didn't move, and I had a needle and thread at some point. And I sewed this thing. Can you make a video of how to make the cufflinks? But I want to watch you. Well, good night then. Okay. But I want to watch you. Well, night then. Well, good night. Sweet dreams. Thank you for joining me. Give me 2 seconds. Let me see if I can find my needle and thread, because if I can find my needle and thread, then I can just show you this one. There we go. Found it. Okay. I still have this quadruple threaded 4 threads going through this, so, and it is a decent length. It is a arms pull. It's not a full arms pull, but I don't think I need the full arms pull. Let me tie it in a knot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with 1 button, and I am going to make a loop that I pull through the knot. So I have sewn through 1 button, and I'm going to trim off this extra thread now. This does not help. I am so bright and blinding. This lighting is not great. I'm going to trim this off now because it's going to be hard once I sew the thing. And I'm going to take my second button. So I have my 2 buttons, and I'm just going to hold them a pinch apart in my hand like I'm pinching it. So, like this, a pinch apart. And I'm going to go through each of the holes, making that cute little X pattern that sews through the buttons. Oops, don't do that yet. I am tangled. Shh, don't watch. It's okay, we're just live. X. All right, this is where you get to really determine the length. You don't want them super wide, but you also don't want them super narrow. I'm going to hold it about a ½ inch apart. So now I've sewn X's with thread between them. Okay, I'm going to put my thread into the center, making that a cute little X, so that my thread's in the middle. I'm going to make a loop. I'm going to tie it in a knot. I'm going to pull that knot into the center. Okay, I undid that knot. Let me show you. Let me balance this all and juggle. So I'm making a giant knot that goes around my wheel. I'm going to pull it as tight and as close to one of the buttons as I can, like that. So now I have, and like I did the eye, I'm just going to go and stitch, just keep knotting it like it's a friendship bracelet all the way down to the other side. And what's nice is you can just, these are just simple white buttons, so they're like they're not going to like really steal attention away from the French cuff. They're going to be simple. Oh, don't do that. There it goes. That's much better. Okay. But you can go crazy. You can get like skull and crossbone buttons. Buttons are fun. And I feel like button cufflinks are fun. And hey, there's a Christmas present idea for somebody. Make them button cufflinks. Okay. Janice Ulster, cool. Can you make a video of how to make the cufflinks? I just want to finish these ones here so they don't have to have their own video. So I'm using a really slippery, silky thread. If you use a buttonhole thread, it'll be heavy duty and it'll be like tough as nails. And that's the thread I would highly recommend for doing this. I didn't pre-think before I started going. I just was like, oh yeah, I have this needle already threaded. And it works. I think I stretched this more than a ½ an inch, but I can shorten it if I need to. Okay. Just trying to keep all my tensions and my threads all neat so that when I pull them, they just don't do these crazy knotted loops. Just a couple more stitches. So in the end, you're going to have two little buttons that are held together by a little thread shank. It's like a thread shank when you, if you sew a button to a jacket, you don't want the button pressed flat up against the jacket because then you won't be able to get the bulk of the fabric underneath that button so that it can do its job and hold the fabric in place because there's no room for the fabric to be there. And instead of fabric, you are using another button. So this is the one that I've already put the buttonholes in. Let me trim this threads. Okay, all my threads are trimmed. Now I'm going to take these buttonholes. They haven't been cut open yet. The best thing for cutting open buttonholes is a seam ripper. Um, you poke the seam ripper in and you can just cut it open. It is the safest way to go about it. I wouldn't use a raw blade or razor blade, and I use razor blades to rip out seams all the time, but I wouldn't use a razor blade for this. 100% seam ripper. Don't even try and use little tiny scissors. Seam ripper. Janice User, I think I'll have to replay this section a few times to get what you're doing. Okay, so I'm so sorry that I'm tripping and trying to do this teeny tiny thing right here and juggling it. I am stitching 2 buttons as close together without them being together as I can get them. And then I am wrapping my thread around the thread shank to make it a one piece as opposed to 4 pieces that are loosely together. And then you will hopefully have a piece that looks like a little tiny barbell with a thread in between. Now, let me do like a couple more loops. Knots. You gotta love them. They are so complicated and simple. Okay. Bernie Davis says, very informative. Glad I checked out the stream. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. Yeah, when this is done, I am going to call it a night. But yeah, I actually rather enjoy doing kind of a late night stream. I don't know if this will be a normal thing, but I did enjoy it. All right, cut off this extra thread. I do not like how slippery this thread is for this job. Like, this thread has not bothered me at all for the rest of the projects, but this specific job, buttonhole thread would make it so much easier. Bernie Davis says, be careful with the seam ripper, the tip will break. I know from experience. Yeah, I know. But still. Okay, so now we have this little piece right here, and we have our cuff. Put our cuff on, wings out, and the pinky. And then I'm going to do the first 2. It is so hard to put on your own bracelets. Let alone button your own wrists. How do I get dressed in the morning? Not necessarily with cuffs, but now I have button sticking through all the layers of the French cuff. So this is my French cuff with my super simple button cufflinks. And then if you want to take them off, you unbutton it. Oh my gosh, it is so hard dealing with white fabrics. Okay, try doing it with one good hand. It's even harder, LOL. I know. I professionally dress people for a living, and it's still hard. Yeah. So this is my finished collar. We have a finished cuff, and it is 20 past midnight. I am at 2.5 hours for the stream. I think that's pretty long. I think that's quite long enough, but I will throw this little collar on. So we have a collar. It'll go with my black dress. I don't have a string. But I have a collar, and I have a cuff. Do like left hand. Cuffs go this way. It's a French cuff. I have a cuff. I have collars. I have 2 sets. I really like the way this turned out. I think the other one's still my favorite. I think the other one will probably be the one that I wear to second. I can't. This one right here, because I like the straight stitch. I have to add the same thing, but I think I like the way this one. I think this one's my favorite. I didn't like this decorative stitch that I did as much as I thought I would. It just kind of makes it, well, I didn't press it. It might look much better once I press it after doing the top stitching. But cuffs and collars complete with buttonholes and hook and eye closures. Yeah, made it through it all. Okay. Brittany Davis. Oh, fancy. Gianna's Ooser, so you will have to add Velcro to the cuffs to keep it from moving up and down your wrists. No, I will not actually have to do that because the dress that I'm wearing with has a bishop sleeve that is at my wrist length, so it's not going to be traveling anywhere. It's the right height for my wrist, so it's not going to be moving up or down. I wouldn't necessarily do Velcro. I might do elastic. If I wanted to make this super simple, easy cuff, but I didn't want to go through the complicated trying to put buttonholes in it and turn it into the French cuff. I could either use a pin, just stab a pin directly through it like a button, like an earring, but with a better ending. Or you could stitch a piece of elastic between these 2 pieces, so then it stretches on and on off, and it's like a hair tie around your wrist. It makes it a little more comfortable. But I like the French cuffs. They originally were designed to be removed and as a separate part of the garment, separate piece to the garment, so not necessarily attached. So it's not really kind of out of the crazy norm to have a separate style cuff. And it's not going to travel up your sleeves. There's no way that this cuff is going to go, like if I try and like put my sleeves up, this is probably as high as it'll go, max. So it's not going to travel. It's really not going to move around. 45th clown, well done making it through. Looks great. Thank you. Okay. We have finished cuffs, we have finished collars. I'll try and post pictures when I actually like put the whole cosplay together. But yeah. Oh, that's where that pen went. I was looking for that. Okay, so if you guys don't have any questions, it's 12:24 at night. I'm ready to go to bed, I think. So I think I'm gonna call it a night. Thank you so much for all of you guys who are here. I had fun. I enjoyed doing it kind of as a late night crafting session as opposed to something like afternoon. Yeah, it's about to be Christmas. I'm gonna go live with Odin on this Sunday, over on his channel, odinmakes.com. .com. Odin Makes on YouTube. But I'm gonna go live with him next Sunday, and then next after that, I'll show you guys the project that I've been working on that I've been showing little peeks of on Discord, on the Odin Makes private Discord server. I've been showing some pictures of that over there. But after Christmas, then I can reveal that to you guys. But that's my plans as so far. Thank you. It's been a great night. Sweet dreams, everybody. Get some shut-eye. Hope your we're on Thursday now. It's no longer Wednesday. Hope your Thursday's great. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.